It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. And for one last time on the Afternoon Drive, Alan, me on here with you. No, in all seriousness, I mean, it's April 1st. Can't believe anybody fell for the bit. But I do feel bad for the people that didn't even think about it. And Alan threw it into his morning rush at the very end, and they're sitting there.
You had already tweeted it. I'm not.
No. Well, the reason that I say that is because I don't feel bad for anybody that would have fallen for it on Twitter. I feel bad for the people in the YouTube comments of this show that are supporters of the show that might have fallen for it. My guy, Dave Fileshifter specifically, feel really bad. Very nice message if I were to be leaving that he left, and I'm not going anywhere. So I feel bad about that.
Okay. All right.
So not to blame you. I
went 10 houses down in Monaco.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, no, I will still be here, still doing the podcast, still love doing it every day, Alan, and getting to talk some football with you every single day. And I think that's what we should do today, since it's what we do every single day. Art Rooney talking today. You already talked about some of the stuff in terms of the role change stuff on this morning's morning rush. You kind of just, brushed aside for that episode the Aaron Rodgers comment that he made because you wanted to dive more into the. Yeah, I appreciate that. You wanted to dive in more to his thoughts on all the role change stuff. But if you listen to the way that Art Rooney was talking about Aaron Rodgers, you're just wondering, is that ink drying yet on those papers, or what's going on there? What are we waiting for at this point? Because the confidence level from the organization at this point is just, it's not stunning because it's also what we are expecting to happen. But it's there's a lot of confidence coming from the organization in terms of this happening.
I think there's about as much confidence in anyone can have in something involving Aaron Rodgers, that this is going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that was last week, right? I said the word confidence, and you were like, well, using the word confidence when go with Aaron Rodgers, you're really, it's a slippery slope. But hey, it's not just me. Everybody's Art Rooney, the owner of the team, talking.
I hate every Steelers person I've talked to here this week has basically said some version of the same thing, that they think they're getting Aaron Rodgers, that this is going to happen, and also that there's not really any rush, especially between now and the draft. It's if he wants to take the whole next 3 weeks, it doesn't matter to them at all. I do sort of push back on Mike Tomlin's claim that it doesn't matter in the draft, because I think it makes quarterback more important if they don't get him. But until then, it really makes no difference.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you said about having conversations with people. And I'm actually glad that Art Rooney exuded this level of confidence too, because I never talking about conversations that I have with players and stuff like that. I took Steelers tight end Pat Fryermuth, showed him a little spot in Beaver County that you've also been to, Bowser's, last night, and somebody recognized him. And wanted to take a picture, came up talking to him and stuff like that. And then she was like, I gotta ask you, Aaron Rodgers. And he was just like, I mean, I think it's happening, but I'm just on the team. So I appreciated him saying that, and also
the starting tight end. Everyone thinks it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm, exactly. But yeah, shout out to Bowser's. Not a paid advertisement, just an advertisement on this podcast from me. But anyways,
advertisement. They know how to find us.
Yeah, absolutely. I got some friends that work there, got pretty well know the owner. So, hey, maybe we can make it happen. But going back to that, I want to tie in something just because Aaron Rodgers wouldn't fall into this bucket, but certainly another quarterback, if they were to take one in 2025, and we both said it's more likely than not we expect them to draft one. Is there somebody, because this is a question that we got, so I want to pull up their name too, but I'll ask it and then find the name. Just so well prepared over here. Is there somebody that they could take in 2025 that you think would completely take quarterback off the board in 2026? Because we feel like that's where we've said it's the next dart throw, no pun intended, is going to happen. But if they take somebody in 2025 relatively early, does that just take it off the board for you in 2026 and completely scrap that?
That's a good question. I don't think there's a player
Mm-hmm.
It's possible if they draft someone let's say they draft Jackson Dart. I don't know how, wherever. if they sign Aaron Rodgers, how's he going to play? You need him to get hurt. I don't even know that Jackson Dart would necessarily beat out Mason Rudolph. How does he get in the lineup to show enough? I don't know. I don't really see it. I don't think there's any situation out there that that leads them to not drafting a quarterback in 26 that I can see right now.
I mean, I'm in the same boat.
Okay, so the one might be if like they traded for like Willis or Milton and then played them and they played well.
Okay. Yeah.
Or if they don't sign Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like if they sign Rodgers, they're not going to draft a quarterback who I think is going to play enough to take quarterback off the board in 26.
Yeah. It's just that would be like a big pivot. Right? Like everything that they've done to this point, and like by their own admission in terms of stockpiling comp picks, has said they want that big jump to happen in 26. And then if they just completely pivot away from that idea, and whether it's draft somebody this year and then all of a sudden they feel like that's the guy, or like you're saying, make a trade for somebody, like it all of a sudden, like we would have to reverse course in terms of how we've talked about the position going forward.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I don't buy it. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I do think they'll take a quarterback, but I don't think there's going to be the opportunity for that quarterback to cement themselves in such a way that they will not be taking a quarterback again in 26. Yeah. I think you would draft a quarterback this year with the hope that that quarterback could possibly become a starter, but also like you need backups, and they want stability in the room too. Like they've gone now 2 years in a row replacing the entire quarterback room. Even if it's just somebody playing out their rookie contract as a backup, I think at this point, that feels valuable to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quit spending, $4 million for a back quarterback is what it is. But like to have even the backup quarterback on a rookie contract is nice to have too. And I thought that was going to happen last year and it didn't happen. Now we got Mason Rudolph back into the fold, assuming that he's going to be the backup and not the starter. Once again, paying $4 million again, not that much money for a back quarterback when it could have been somebody on a rookie contract. This just screams to me, like I'm saying, most likely. This again isn't me like necessarily predicting 100% that's going to happen, but I think the Steelers are going to take quarterback in the draft, and to me, the most likely one is Will Howard. If you're making me make that prediction right now,
yeah, I think that's a good prediction because I think he's a guy that could be had in the 4th or maybe the 5th round, and I think at that point you are drafting a guy mostly just because you think there's a probability that he's going to turn into a pretty good backup, and maybe there's a hope that he's more, and I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine for them to make that investment.
If he's Mason Rudolph on a rookie contract.
There are a lot of similarities between Will Howard and Mason Rudolph, man. Like Ed first pointed it out to me at the pro day, and I've been thinking about it ever since, and they're very similar players.
You mentioned, I think just like a lot of the play action concepts and stuff that they were running, like I kind of like when you first threw out the Ryan Tannehill thing, who Art obviously has a familiarity with.
Yeah.
Going back to those days.
That too.
Different Art. I was talking about Smith there, but back to Rooney. I didn't know if there was anything that you wanted to retrace your steps on in terms of Art's availability today that you didn't touch on the morning rush.
I just wanted to mention that in addition to everything they're saying about Rodgers being very positive, the fact that they're all even talking about Rodgers on the record is fairly unprecedented. I can't ever remember a Steelers coach or executive giving this much credence to their pursuit of a player not on their roster in terms of, like most of the time you get a, hey, he's a great player. He's not on our roster. I'll talk about it if he is. Like the fact that they've all been so elaborative about their pursuit of Aaron Rodgers tells me, obviously it's real. We don't, not questioning that, but just it reinforces the fact that they think this is going to happen.
Nothing you said there should have upset me, but the use of the word credence, because I was ready to drop that word in. Like I was like, how can I work credence into this? I was just going to say how unprecedented it is. I think I've seen people throw this notion out there, and I'm not suggesting this is going to happen, not predicting it's going to happen. I've seen the theories saying that it will. Just because it's unprecedented, and so with this, it almost gives some credence to maybe Aaron Rodgers really is going to announce this at the Pat McAfee show live in Pittsburgh next Wednesday. Something else that would be
Time on the
unprecedented.
calendar to do it. Nothing else going on.
Yeah. Yep.
Lots of attention.
The only thing else that I wanted to bring up that was not from a question from the community, whether it be YouTube, but there's actually one that you got. I think this was an email that we got here as well that we haven't gotten to yet. Was a mock draft that came out with the Steelers trading down, something that we've talked about a lot over the last few days in terms of actually just yesterday, I talked about the idea of trading down, we're trading up and how hard it would be to do so. This had the Steelers trading down from 21 to 26 and still landing Derek Harmon, a player that I think they would certainly be happy with in the first round, certainly in that spotting and recouping another pick. Now, it didn't say what the return would be, but you'd have to think like another day 2 pick or something probably in there from the Rams, Allen, or what do you think like the return would potentially be for doing so? And how would you feel about moving from 21 to 26 and still landing Derek Harmon?
First of all, let's start with the return. I think that is like that. If to me, I think plan 1A should be draft Kenneth Grant at 21. And for whatever reason, if either he's not available or they feel like they need to trade back in order to recoup some of that lost draft capital in the DK Metcalf trade, they do have, I think, the third least amount of draft capital in this class. I think the idea of trading down becomes very attractive. The trade down from 21 to 26 in the Rams, I like the Rich Hill trade chart, which you can find at Draft Tech. It is taught on actual trades, so like the inputs of actual trades that have been made are what informs that chart. Some of the other ones are better at different things, but that's 100 points of difference, which roughly equates to like a third round comp pick, which, by the way, the Los Angeles Rams happen to have. How about that? It would be exactly almost their comp pick at 101 to move up from 26 to 21. I think the Steelers would be interested in that. If they knew they could get Derek Harmon, they would definitely be interested in that. He's a really good player. I think one of the better fits for them at 21 in general to pick up a third and do that, I think would be pretty nice work.
Yeah, and I think this kind of honestly plays into like another part of this was Shedeur Sanders would have still been on the board for them to take. Wanted to get your thought on that if they would just pass on that opportunity to do so. Like, is QB not even a thought, even if it is Shedeur Sanders on the board, just something that we've thought probably wouldn't happen. We got a question kind of regarding that. Weekday Desserts, which is this person's Twitter handle, otherwise what I call what I'll be having tonight when I'm watching the Pirates losing 8-0. Says if the Steelers don't get Rodgers, what are the chances they would get somebody like Sanders if he were to fall to 21? Would he be on their radar, or would that mess up the chances of them getting a QB in the 26th draft, assuming their mind is already set on that? So kind of tying in the topic we started off with too.
Yeah, I mean, I really, this is Lance Zierlein, right? Mockdraftnfl.com.
Yeah.
I really appreciate his work. I don't understand having Shedeur Sanders on the board at 21. I don't get it. I think he's more likely to be taken at 2 than he is to be there at 21. Would the Steelers draft him if he's there? If they have signed Aaron Rodgers, I think probably not. If they haven't, maybe. That's the kind of thing that I think does make a difference if Rodgers signs before the draft or not. So, yeah, I think trading down is an interesting option in face of a board like that. And you do need there to be players. To trade down, you need 2 things. You need there to be a player that somebody wants to trade up and get. Is that what the Rams are doing in this month? They're getting Sanders, trading up for him?
I don't think it was for. I think Sanders went at like he was the next pick or something like that. I think the Browns ended up moving back up.
Okay. There has to be somebody falling that somebody wants to come up and get. Now they have Jahdae Barron going to the Rams. Okay. A good pick at 21 for the Rams. I think there has to be somebody that somebody wants to come up and get, and then the trading down team has to feel good enough about enough players on the board between those 2 picks that they still think they're going to get something close to equivalent to what they were going to get at 21.
And not only Shedeur Sanders on the board there, but a player that he didn't even have going in the first round was Emeka Egbuka. I'm not saying that there's like the Steelers I could see passing on Emeka Egbuka if one of those defensive tackles are there, certainly.
Yeah.
That's certainly
But
possible.
that would factor into the trade down decision as well. Okay, so you look at the board, you're like, okay, we're going to trade down. Barron's on the board. Sanders is on the board. Harmon's on the board. And Manwari's on the board. Egbuka's on the board. Okay, so we can trade down 5 or 6 spots, and that's okay because I think Luther Burden was on the board.
Only Golden and Tet amongst the receivers were.
Yeah.
Golden started the receiver at 12.
I think that's okay. You need that as the trade down team as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's just, I think it's going to be, I don't see a scenario, honestly. I mean, the scenario was laid out. I don't think this comes to fruition on draft day where Shedeur Sanders is even on the board to make that decision.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, more likely to go to the Browns at 2 than be there at 20.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to.
How does he get past them?
Who?
The Saints at 9.
Yeah. And then he has them trading back into the first 32 with Philly. Kellen Moore, the team he just came from, trading 232 to take Jackson Dart at 32.
Okay. I mean, like, that's not horrendous for Dart, but man, I don't know. I don't see that.
Question that I definitely want to get to, make sure that we do right in the middle of this episode here, was the one that you got emailed, because it comes from the name of my favorite non-Steelers running back of all time, Fred Taylor. So appreciate the this isn't the same.
Why Fred Taylor? Why is he your favorite non-Steelers?
I don't know. I really don't. I would not be able to tell you. And it's weird because like my first jersey ever, not just like, was Eddie George. So you would think that would be my guy there.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but Fred Taylor, like on those Jacksonville teams, there was just something about him that I always loved to watch. Because I tell people this all the time. I don't know if I've said this on here, certainly on Around the 412. And now a lot of people in this community are going to hate me if I haven't said this on here in the past. I didn't grow, like I wasn't a Steelers fan, or like in my my youth. I became a Steelers fan. Kind of honestly, along with like Super Bowl 40, basically turned me into a Steelers fan watching it. I used to, because I was this type of kid, root against the Steelers to upset my dad. So like on those Jaguars teams, like Fred Taylor was kind of like my guy, when they would play against the Steelers or anybody. But yeah, so I don't know. There's just always been something about Fred Taylor, and I've enjoyed watching him post-career as well, what he's done with the pivot and stuff like that, along with Ryan Clark and Channing Crowder. But anyways, question from Fred Taylor, not that Fred Taylor. Hi, also, I think he meant to say I'm now a subscriber. I don't know. Hi, Alan. I know. Oh, no. Hi, Alan. I know I'm not a subscriber. All right. So maybe you could turn him into a subscriber based off your answer here. Live in Raleigh, North Carolina. NFL is non-existent here. Found your afternoon drive, and I love it. You tell it as it is, and getting Steeler info this way is great. My question is, up and down all the Rodgers stuff, the up and down blaming of Smith for the poor offense. I ask you, do you think Tomlin, since he seems he wants Rodgers, has talked to Smith about the possibility of that and the way that they would butt heads? We all know the rumors of Wilson Smith not getting along. Does Tomlin have enough respect for Smith to at least be on his side or have a conversation with him before doing so? Thanks for listening to me rant. Love the show. Keep it up. Been a Steeler fan, credentials coming out here, since 1963. First game on a black and white TV, and I was hooked. Can't stand the non-loyalty of the players, but understand the game has changed, and I now yell a little bit softer on Sunday.
Awesome email there from Mr. Taylor, and appreciate his audience ship. And
how do we turn him into a subscriber?
We got to work on that subscriber thing, Fred. We can do this. We can do this. Great city, Raleigh, North Carolina, by the way. Love it there. Yeah, like I think Arthur Smith probably is not the offensive coordinator that you would handpick to be like, who do you want to get the most out of 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers? Probably not. But I also think if you look at what he did with Ryan Tannehill and you look at a sort of physically diminished Aaron Rodgers, I think you can see some similarities there. I think Aaron Rodgers will like to play for a team that is successful at running the ball. And I know that Arthur Smith wants to be a team that is successful at running the ball. We'll see if they actually are, because they certainly weren't last year. I think that's the sort of rub here, is that I think it all works if Arthur Smith's run game schemes work and it takes the load off Rodgers, who at 42 I assure you, despite his tendencies, physically does not want to throw the ball 50 times a game. Like, he wants to win, and he's willing to do that if he thinks that's what it takes to win. But I think he would much rather have a team that runs the ball successfully and lets him be a big part, but not the whole offense. I think where the pitfalls I see is if what happens last year, where the Steelers are ineffective at running the ball, but insist on running the ball a ton. I don't see Aaron Rodgers being okay with that. He's going to take it on him and say, forget this play call. I'm doing what I want because we're averaging 3.8 yards per carry as a team. That's not going to get us a win here. I can do it myself. What happens then? I have no idea. Like, that to me is the area where I can see this unraveling.
Yeah, I'm not saying they should or shouldn't do this. Just want your opinion. And again, like, can you really say without knowing for sure and seeing it play out? But do you think that they would handle him wanting to change everything at the line of scrimmage, like even down to routes that are being run? Do you think they would handle it differently than Russell Wilson? Do you think maybe they've learned something from the way that went down and don't want to have that happen again, or what?
I don't think you can do that to Aaron Rodgers. I think he will just do what he wants anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
Russ has a very compliant personality. Like, for the most part, he's a get-along guy. Russ is not going to just be like, okay, boss, you called it, so you're the boss. You said I can't audible anymore. Of course, I know how the words work in my mouth and my hands, and the people in the field are going to listen to me when I tell them what to do. So good luck stopping me. Like, I just don't see how you can do that. You're going to have to live with that being a fact.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 100%. You're absolutely right. I mean, from like a content standpoint, this is probably best case scenario for the way that this could have worked out for the Steelers. I mean, like if Aaron Rodgers Tuesdays are still going to be happening on the Pat, every single Tuesday is probably just going to be us talking about what he talked about. Like, and most people in Steelers lore. So, but anyway, not to go off topic about that, but we'll see if it comes to fruition, and assuming that it does, what the trickle down effect will be of that. This will be a quick box for you to check, Alan. Randy Tobias had a question here. Great job, guys. Love the content. Probably a stupid question, but why are they called owners meetings if it's heads coaches that are voting for changes in the rules?
Head coaches don't vote on the changes in the rules. Coaches do serve on the competition committee, which is not all coaches. It's coaches and executives. And the competition committee makes recommendations. They are the voice of the coaches and the owners in this, and the players in this process, to say, this is what we see as pitfalls in your rule changes. This is how we think there are unintended consequences in what you're trying to do, and that kind of thing. But the owners themselves vote on rule changes. Art Rooney places a vote for the Pittsburgh Steelers on every measure, and he talks to us about it because he's the one that's ultimately responsible for that vote. And so he says, we did not support the tush push. We did not support taking a home playoff game away from a division winner. We do support changing the regular season overtime rules to be more in line with the playoff overtime rules. So, yeah, those are the owners voting. The coaches are here to advise and to help, but at the end of the day, the owners and the Green Bay Packers, who do not have an owner, they have I think he's called a president, and he's retiring this year. The Packers are a publicly held company.
Is it Mark Murphy still?
Mark Murphy is the CEO and president of the Green Bay Packers, and he will be retiring because the Packers, I don't know what you call it, their sort of founding documents restrict the age of their CEO to 70. So they will have to hire a new one, and Mark Murphy.
I didn't know that was why. Wow.
That will be it'll be his last season as president. They will elect a new one. I don't know what their process is, but it's kind of fascinating, to have that piece of this process.
Yeah, the coach is there to, hang out with Jay Glazer, get together, have some drinks. That's hilarious. Like the video that he put up where it's literally just him going in a circle with his camera, and it's every single coach in the NFL just sitting around having a talk, which I guess is a good way to segue into this question from Steven.
You go around here and it's like 3 or 4 times yesterday. I was just like, it's Jim Harbaugh. It's Jim Harbaugh. Is he following me? Like, what the? It just kept being in like the same line or whatever. Like, it was just over and over again. There was Jim. That's the way it is.
Is Jim Harbaugh a big dude?
He's pretty tall. Yeah, he's taller than me.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
Very nice.
Anyway, Stephen 116th said, do you think a lot of deals get tossed around at the owners' meetings?
Probably not as much as like the combine and things like that. I do think there are some teams trying to do some business here this week, but I think mostly I think this is more like a feeling out about where people are and what people have in mind. They're trying to get intel on the draft to see like what teams might be thinking. I don't know that I should expect like a whole bunch of transactions coming out today and tomorrow as teams come out of here. It's just not that kind of event.
Say his name and he appears, and I'm not talking about Joe Hendry. Stephen 116th, literally 2 minutes ago, gave us a $10 super chat because he said you got him good talking about me leaving the podcast. He thought it was happening. I don't know if he felt bad and like the $10 was supposed to be like my parting gift or what, but he gave us a $10 super chat with that comment. Stephen, I'm not going anywhere.
Read Stephen's question. How about that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Say his name and he appears. Anyways, what was the last one that I'll leave off with here? We got DM this on Instagram, actually. Both Alan and I were put into a group by Patrick Blasco here. Big listener on Spotify to you guys. Thanks again. A couple months ago, he had a question for us that we talked about on here, and he appreciated it. But got another one here. Could the Steelers instead be looking to trade for a veteran quarterback next year to really go all in for 26 with the picks that we're talking about, thinking they're hoarding them to make that big move up in the 26 draft? We saw Geno only go for a third. The Steelers will have ample picks. Trade for somebody like hypothetically Dak in this situation or whoever, instead of starting again with a rookie quarterback with an aging roster like they have in place.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, I would be okay. I mean, Dak's contract is.
I guess that's the thing is I don't know
how
the outside looking in. I have a hard time seeing who that veteran quarterback is right now. That would be that guy to be like, yeah, that's
so. If they traded for Dak next off season, they would owe him $40 million in 26, $45 million in 27, and $55 million in 28. And the 27 or the 26 would be guaranteed. And the 27 would guarantee in 26. Like, that's a lot of money. I don't know. I don't know if I think Dak Prescott is worth $7 million a year.
I mean, I 100% hear that. I get that. I look at the way the quarterback contracts continue to, I mean, Jordan Love and Trevor Lawrence making $55 million. Like, I just wonder where these contracts are going to get to, where you're going to be. But I guess that's why we're talking about it, wanting it to be a rookie, ideally, right? Because you get the benefit of that rookie contract too. Now, if they're not good, it doesn't necessarily matter, but you need that to line up with the play and the value. And
I think, look, the Steelers are rebuilding their offense. They have three offensive linemen under the age of 25. They have a very young receivers group outside of DK Metcalf. Pat Freiermuth has to be the youngest, oldest guy on the team. Like, he's the longest tenured player on their offense. He's been in the league 4 years. Yeah. So, like, I think there's like it's a young group. It feels like they're like it would make sense to put a young quarterback with that young group on offense. In a way that I don't think it would necessarily make sense to put someone who's 33 with that group. Now, is it possible that they could find a trade for a quarterback more in his prime? Yeah, that just doesn't happen very often. I can't even.
I don't see it right now. Like, I don't know.
Not only do I not see it right now, like, when's the last time it happened? Stafford? Yeah. I guess like that, like,
but I mean, Stafford was even what, like 35, 30, like when that trade happened. I mean,
I don't think he was that old, but yeah, I mean, that's okay. He's 37 now. When was the trade? 21?
Yes.
Okay,
20, so 21 season.
So he was 33-ish. Yeah. I mean, I just those trades don't happen often enough for me to think that's a part of the plan. Certainly, if it becomes something that is available, I think they would look into it, but I don't think they're thinking about that right now.
Yeah, he even mentioned the Geno Smith one in here, which we said, just yesterday, we both would have been fine with the acquisition cost, but then the extension is kind of where it gets dicey, which is why Seattle even moved on. They didn't want to pay him north of like $45-ish million per season on a contract. And it's going to be interesting to see what the deal he ends up signing with the Raiders is. But yeah, I mean, that like talking about the thing that didn't actually happen, right? The Trevor Lawrence hypothetical that we had to toss around for 20 minutes earlier, like he's making 55 million APY. So like, I don't know how that's broken down contract wise on a per year basis, how each year looks, but like to take that on with what he's been so far as a player, you're banking on him getting a lot better over the course of the contract.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't see that scenario. People have talked about Kyler Murray. Cardinals just recently started investing on the defense.
Okay, I can see that. Like, they're only going to trade him if he plays poorly this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you got to have the same conversation where it's like, do we think he's going to be better from this point forward than what we've seen?
Yeah.
And he's kind of losing that young. I mean, he was drafted in 2019. Like he's not like a super young player anymore. So I don't know. Interesting stuff. Good conversation as always. Be looking forward to how the comments treat these topics and their thoughts and everything. But we'll be back tomorrow to discuss some of those. I'm sure some of the questions that you guys have. But until then, Alan, tell the people they can find you.
Saunders _PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now. Besides account SteelersNow.com. Go there and read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus, and you can pay me without having an ad company in between, and you get to read the site without ads, which is way better. Like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on YouTube so you don't miss a single episode of Steelers Morning Rush, Steelers Afternoon Drive. And Zachary Smith is sticking around. So, you
for everybody that was sending those the applications, however they were.
I did get a couple of those. I did get a couple of those. 15,400 and Carrie Davis subscribers. Carrie Davis was a fullback, wore number 38 in the Steelers 08 Super Bowl team.
Okay.
That's pretty obscure. I'm proud of that one.
Yeah, and like I had a name, but now I know it's wrong because he wore this number, but I don't think it was for the Steelers. I'm pretty sure Stephen Ridley wore 22 here because he wore 38 for 38 in Steelers history. I don't know if I can come up with one without looking it up.
I got a picture of Stephen Ridley wearing 38 in a Steelers jersey. So maybe
Stephen Ridley did 2017.
Maybe you're legit. I think you're good. It looks like you wore both because I see pictures of both.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, and how could I forget about 2018 Steelers Rookie of the Year, Jalen Samuels?
J-Sam. John Whitman, Tim Worley. Lots of big running. You're either a fullback or you're a big running back if you wear 38.
Oh, the return of Terrell Edmonds.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Rel did last year.
Yeah. But anyways, add to that number. So be sure to subscribe here as well. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure to leave a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH. Aaron Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.